everybody. And this is an exciting session again. As you all know, and some of you might be a part of this incredible 49 series of extraordinary women joining us on this beautiful space of actually lending their life to us. Let's put it this way, where we are also able to capture a lot and learn from what they have actually achieved in their life. So, this session is a part of this landmark initiative celebrating 49 extraordinary women who lead with courage, purpose, and brilliance. And why do we do this 49 as a number? Because women make 49.7% of the world. And this series is a reminder to this powerful number that as many voices need to come out and celebrate it and amplify it, which I think this is the initiative that we are taking, that why aren't we are all able to do so, and bringing in some very amazing women. That's why to lend their stories to us. So today it's an honor to have another remarkable voice, a leader who's not only shaped organizational culture but has also inspired thousands of people around her, and none other than Shveta Verma. She is the India and Asia Pacific Inclusion and Diversity Leader for PwC with over 25 years of experience in human capital across diverse industries. So Shweta, you're joining, I think you joined PwC in 2004.
I
And
did.
I also was with Lufthansa for over 20 years, and I thought that, and I was heading loyalty for them. So I thought, do you see loyalty like this in today's world? And I'm so happy to see somebody also leading, immaculately for the last 21 years. So let me start the first question with that, I think. That how is it to be in the same organization for so long? And in this today's very fast moving, and the world which we are in, where everything changes every few months, how do you think that a loyal person like you, or loyalty for you, is shaping up to be in one organization? And how was this experience so far?
So I often get this question, honestly speaking.
You.
But first, let me first say thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon, everybody, to all those who have joined. I'm so glad to be here. I hope I can add value to some of you, any of you, and but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be as honest as I can be, and that's, I think, defines me as a personality for all those who may know me or who have worked with me ever. So, but I hope I what I'm going to do here is just have a good time
Yes.
and share my journey. Um, well, I often have received this question, and you're right that it is a fast pace. But I'm a runner, a marathon runner, and uh, for me, the pace at which I run can only be defined of how my body can carry me, right? Nobody, I can't pace at somebody else's pace when they're running a marathon, my right or left or whoever. So I don't compete with anybody, I just compete with myself every time that I step out for a run. And the same, if I just, with the same analogy, if I just apply this in my workplace, I think that uh, after after every few years, I do get itchy. I will not deny that I do get itchy on what next. And I'm not a kind of person who's very calm, quiet, satisfied with the things. So I am a person with a lot of zeal and energy. I like to try different things. So I do get itchy. But given the organization that I work with, the advantage is that it's a network of organizations, and PwC is a very big brand. So every time I have tried, I've kind of got itchy to do something or step out, I've just applied for a different role. And I've been fortunate to get a different role, and that requires me to kind of relearn, unlearn, learn, and work with a very different set of people. And it's as good as working in a new organization. So, though
Beautiful.
the ethos remains the same, but I still get this different energy that I itch for. So, I think that has worked for me. Also, the second thing that has very worked for me very well is that PwC's allows you a very wide and a very wide campus. It allows you to paint the campus as you wish.
So
And I
beautiful.
think
You know.
my thrive within the organization, or my, you know, wherever I have moved, has been for this reason, that
Wow.
I've been able to do things, I've been able to try and learn different things, because of the environment that I have gotten, and the people that I have worked, and the leaders that I've worked with. And I'm not just saying it. I think it's a testimony, because I've been here for 21 years now plus. So,
I think I shaped my life as well, like similar to what you said, and I totally resonate with it that, if there is an opportunity within the organization, it keeps you going and a very new leaf opens up every
yeah,
time you try to do something different. So people who are in like an organization feeling stuck, watch out for more opportunities. You never know where it'll take you. Because
absolutely. I agree.
yeah. So thanks for sharing. But looking back, I want to ask you, what were some of the defining moments really that shaped your path then?
So when you talk of defining moments, I mean, it's my life, right? You're referring to, not. Oh, so there have been many defining moments actually for me. If I were to just think back, uh, when I come from a city, I come from Agra. Okay?
Okay.
And when I finished, and it's a tier two city, it's a small town, small city, not as small as it used to be that time. Now, of course, all the cities have grown multiple folds, but that time, it was conservative if we were to compare it to a Delhi or Bombay.
Mm.
I was born in a family, a nuclear family, and we were three sisters. And the way I was brought up, it was always that I'm the middle child. I was always kind of given the work that a boy of the family would have got. So
Mm.
if I had to run, if it was running any errands, it was my responsibility. So that kind of shaped the way I thought. I was very outward going, and I was a very non-conformist in that space.
Okay.
So I always wanted to work and be independent. And my mother was a very, very key factor, because she got married very early, and she wanted her daughters to be independent financially.
Hmm.
And her biggest, I think, regret in life, if I can say, till date, she does say it, is that she's unable to speak fluent English.
Okay. Wow.
And she had this in her mind, that
Yeah.
her
You picked
daughters should
it up.
be able to speak. So it always has been there in my mind. So I wanted to work in Bombay
Okay.
somehow. I was
Okay.
never fond of Delhi, though I was close to Delhi. But so when I moved to Bombay, I got a
Mm.
shock of my life after I did my internship in my postgraduate in Bombay. But when I started to look for opportunities there, it was a question that wasn't asked in one organization. It was asked in a number of organizations, that coming from a small city like Agra, how would I fit in Bombay?
Yeah.
And it at that time, it also meant the way people dressed,
Hmm.
the people, how people carried themselves.
Got
And
it.
that stayed with me for so long, that
Hmm.
I kind of did invest in the way I look, the way I dress up, the way I could, the books that I would read. So I think I invested a lot of time in kind of shaping myself to fit in at that time. That
Got it.
was one kind of thing that started off and kind of did help me in the, and of course, I gave that up after a bit. But that, if I reflect back, that was one defining moment. And then, of course, I've had multiple defining moments in my professional journey. But if
Okay.
I were to remember a few, one
Hmm.
certainly would be the birth of my son in 2006. When
Okay.
my son was born, I think it changed me as a person. It changed me as the way, as a professional. Of what didn't matter, it started to matter. How I reflected, how I was in terms of my personality, my reactions, the way I would think, became very, very different. But it took me time to think. But I think there was a certain degree of maturity that did come in. I did started to value relationships and things much more deeply than I did at that time.
But what shifted? I mean, I know that the birth of the children, of course, make us little bit more aware and observant about our own emotions, feelings, how we actually react, etc. But what really shifted that time?
Archana, I'll give you an incident which I clearly remember, and I have often shared this in the forums that I have often been with the women group, particularly.
Okay.
We often have this guilt,
Hmm.
and women talk of guilt.
Right. All the
Honestly, I never had this guilt.
way.
And call it that I'm not a bad mom or what, but I was very clear
Hmm.
that one, financially, I need this job, right?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
was at and I wanted to work.
Right.
I also thought that, and I have a boy. I
Hmm.
did feel that it's very, it's my responsibility to groom this child
Hmm.
in a way that he learns the nuances of how a mom can do different things and how we can shape the world. I did have this at the very early on, actually.
Okay.
So, and you'll see how this thinking has shaped my career. But I
Hmm.
was a very ambitious person, and there were a lot of times that I had deadlines for myself, and I
Right.
wanted to tick all the boxes before I left work. And the
Hmm.
moment I couldn't do it, my personality would change. I would be very frustrated. And it would all be when I would reach home, and things would be a little haywire. And I come from a nuclear family. I wanted everything perfect in every way. The house, and with a young child, the house does get into a mess.
Of
So,
course.
at that point of time, there were things that I was coming with that energy, frustrated from work, frustrated at home. And then one day, when I thought that this was getting too much for me, I really sat in my car outside in early, I think, I don't remember the time, but I do remember that very vividly, that incident. And I cried like how? That it was a kind of a breakdown that I had. And I said, this situation cannot go on. It cannot be that I am bugged and frustrated at office, and I carry the same energy at home, pass it on to all my
Yeah.
family members, to my husband, to my son. And is this the way that I want to kind of bring him up? I
Hmm.
don't think so. And this is what I'm feeding him. And so, at that point, I realized that this guilt has to stop. And second, that if I have to be a professional, a mother, and a homemaker, or be a good wife, I need to make these two distinctions very clearly. And I did this as a practice that I would pause in my car for at least 5 to 7 minutes. I would
Correct.
literally meditate to say, I throw everything here. I'm
Oh,
dumping my work right here under the tires of my car, and
that is
I'm
very.
not carrying it home.
I think, this distinction, and especially when you came from a small town, it's hard,
Yeah,
say the least, right? And then you fit it in into a consulting role, which is also hard because it's
yeah.
very man driven. So I'm sure that there are things that you really had to navigate, through, and today's women also in their own ways have the same challenges. It's not like, the challenges have gone away. Maybe the ecosystems are opening up the world, but still not yet. So since the time you started to what's happening today, where do you see the organizational shift has happened? Or has it happened? I mean, let me put it this way. Has it happened? And or are we still feeling that
So
yes, there is a lot to cover?
if I were to think of mine, I've had a
Okay,
wonderful and an enjoyable journey in PwC.
great.
Things are much tougher now,
Oh, really? Okay.
because as the organizations have grown,
Mm,
that you've lost those personal connects, you've lost that camaraderie. There is more commercialization, there is more navigation that is required, there is a lot harder influencing that is required. So, I think, but that's my personal situation, and I'm being coming from a selfish perspective.
yeah.
But if I were to say, for example, your question, if I were to reflect at a culture piece,
Hmm.
the culture is far more open, more democratic, more accepting of it, and if I can just say inclusive in more variety of ways that we weren't thinking in that science that time. Just think of 6 months maternity. We didn't get that flexibility. Were unheard of. Who could have thought of working from home? Who could
So true.
for words like culture, building trust, well-being, all of these were unheard words. These didn't exist in any of the human capital booklets, or even if we were to think of inclusion and diversity, people would have laughed at me at that time, if I would have even started a conversation like that.
Hmm.
But I think the digitization, the geopolitical situation around the world, the business dynamics, how they have evolved and shaped the consumer, asks, everything is very, very dynamic these days. And I think the decision making in the culture is also becoming as dynamics. I don't think so that people people valued relationships far more. Like take it back to your first question. You wouldn't have asked this question to a leader that time in
That's
terms of
correct.
loyalty. That
Yeah.
you're asking me this question, but if go back 15 years or 20 years, you wouldn't have asked a leader because it
For
was
the
very
norm.
normal.
Yeah.
So I think it is, and nowadays flexibility is normal, inclusion is just normal, equity is normal, and I think we have to reach that stage further of normalizing these conversation further. That's
So
the
true.
word we are in.
So, how did you actually get pulled into diversity? Let's first, I want to understand what do you really mean by it? What is, we talk about diversity inclusion all the time. What is
Yeah.
your definition, and how did you think that this is something that really spoke with you?
So it was a very natural way actually.
Okay.
This is one role that I didn't apply for, let me tell you.
Okay.
It
You-
just it just happened very naturally. And uh, so for me, diversity when I started off meant a lot to say that, okay, we were just going for, let's kind of think about women networks, right?
Hmm.
And of course, if you look at the definition today, per se, what the Wikipedia would throw up, or what would mean to me, of course, it is, we are diverse in every way. Like you and I are very diverse, right? Just the way we look, we are diverse. But if I were to assume that your hairstyle is much better than my hairstyle, or if you were to think, and with that thought process, if you were to address me, things would be very different, right? You would never be able to honest, or because you have a bias or a different thing. Maybe one of your experience with somebody who had curls was very, very different. They were rude. They kind of had a sharp tongue, whatever it could be, right? So whatever, I'm saying that as
I
an
have no
example.
experiences, but yeah, maybe
I'm
people
just
do.
giving you a very subtle way to say that, okay, our experiences have shaped us,
Yes.
but we are very different, and every individual is very different. How
Hmm.
we show up together
Yeah.
is what matters, and how different we are shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, when we come in the corporate world,
Hmm.
how where I come from, how I look, what gender I belong to, what kind of education. Of course, education matters, but where have I grown up? The way I speak in English, the way my personality is, everything defines me before my capability defines me. And
So beautifully said,
so
yes.
I think that is diversity for me. But how we show up together, and how when somebody who's not watching, how we are able to respect everybody's perspective of what they are as individuals and just take them as they are without the exterior, just not go behind the exterior. I think that is inclusion for me. How we respect, we just value perspectives.
So I remember my organizational days with both Lufthansa and Hyatt, and when we spoke about diversity inclusion, it was mostly about having 10% additional leadership positions for women, let's say, and it stopped there. Or it could be like, because Lufthansa had a lot of gay crew, so it was okay to, like, there was a lot of orientation on gender and
Yeah.
sensitization for all the colleagues. But like nothing more than that. What
True.
is something that has changed for something like a PwC or your work? Is this
Yeah.
something more defined now?
Of course. So if when I took on the in PwC as I this role in 2017, and we crafted the first inclusion strategy that time. I think in 2016 end or something, we started to say we must have an inclusion and diversity function, and we probably need a dedicated team. And at that time, the focus was only on gender. And what you are saying is absolutely right, and
Mm.
that you know it was gender because it's a 49% of talent pool that you need to
Yeah.
tap to,
Yes.
right? Tap into. And when you look inward into an organization, are we really representative of the community that we are operating in? The answer is no. So that means there is some gap there. So, what is it that organizations like ours, who have a huge presence and a respect, can do to make or bridge this gap? So that is where it started. And of course, our numbers at senior levels were very dismal. And not that they are
Mm.
very great today, but obviously we've made progress. So I think gender was a very obvious thing as a start point to say that. Plus, also, there was a lot of acceptance that the journey of women are very different from the journey of a man. And therefore, different phases of life, different stages of life require a different kind of support and an ecosystem. And as organizations, are we ready or do we have an ecosystem like that? The answer was no again. Therefore, the gender piece needed to be baked in there. But I think over the last few years, we all organizations, particularly in PwC, we moved away very early from even the gender situation to say that, okay, we don't need to look at what the best practices are outside. We will just look at our data. We will look at what our women are saying within the organization, what
Mm.
are statistics, and we will keep focusing on how we build the ecosystem for women. But then came the question, is it the only, does diversity really define only women? The answer was no. So, of course, what else? So then, of course, we started to think about persons with disability. We started to think about LGBTQ community. How do we bring in different skill sets and different tier two? How do we go to, and tap talent from different tier two cities, colleges which are very, very different. So the definition of diversity has over the last so many years expanded to include and move beyond gender to include various diverse voices, whether
Mm.
it is in and whether it is by definitions persons with disability, different generations, different people of different sexual orientation, personalities, religion, region, all of that encompasses diversity for us today in PwC.
Absolutely, that's the correct way to go as well. So, Shweta, I wear two hats. On one hand, I'm the forefront of Women, whatever initiatives, and I also run a company called Second Act. And Second Act is something that really truly gives me that inner boost, the joy, and something that I can design my life to. And I see you as a marathoner, a theater enthusiast, a fitness, I would say, like somebody who really believes in fitness. So that is quite a spectrum, along with the kind of work and the family and everything. So I would love if you can tell us, how did all this come together? When did it start? How did you really get into all of this besides handling home? And because there's no other time, how did you really get into it? And how do you manage? And how do you really tell women of today how they need to really go for their second act? Let's put it this way.
This answer will be a little long. I'm just
Yes.
saying that with a caveat. So,
Fired,
I
yes.
theater used to happen a long back, but it is not happening anymore now. Okay, it used to be a joy at one point of time, but I think there are so many things that have been added in that bucket has got dropped. So, but yes, sports did happen at a very, and I've always been a sports person. I was the sports captain in my schools. There was not a single sport from shot put, discus throw, high jump, long jump, athletics, that means running, table tennis, badminton, you name a game. game, and I have played that game, and I was the captains of various teams in my school days. And there was a point, I can tell you, that in my 10th board exam, because I was so I my house structure was that my room was on the ground floor, my parents' room were on the first floor. I still remember I had a geography exam on my 10th board, and I had put pillows and a quilt and ran off, thinking, just giving the impression that I'm sleeping, while I had gone to practice for my badminton match, which was supposed to happen in the next 3 days after my board exam. But when I landed up north, my parents were sitting there in my room, thinking, what has happened? So I've always been very, very enthusiast sports person. And
Okay.
then, of course, everything took a pause when I got married, and then the rigmarole of corporate world, everything went off, I think, after 2000, when I started to work. And in 2014, 2014 is when I I again got, and I think it was just the a few people that I met in my circle who were runners, who were fitness enthusiasts, and then they said, "Why don't you run? Why don't you come out? Why don't you do this?" And they kind of, referred to me some trainers, uh, created an eco, and I was new in Gurgaon that time.
Okay.
Also, I'd moved very recently to Gurgaon, and I didn't kind of really know what to do and where to kind of have those groups, and communities where I can kind of look at. And of course, it wasn't as much as it is today as well prevalent, I think. But that nudge kind of was a call for me. And I started to run again, and I used to do 800 meters, 1500 meters, but never long distance. But I started to do running, and I did my first 10K in 2014. I did my first 20 half marathon in 21 in 2014. um, and I did my 42, my first marathon in 2015, then 16. And of course, it's been 10 years of my running marathons. And in between, I did a short triathlon. I've done long distance cycling. I've learned swimming when I was trying to do a triathlon. Of course, I didn't reach the Ironman space, but I did learn swimming very late in my life.
Wow.
But I think everything happened after 40. And I this year again, I participated in a new sports called High Rocks. It has just come to India. It's high intensity functional training, and
Okay.
you do that, and along with running 8 kilometers. I tried that as well, and I'm not going to divulge my age, but I did that. So, but
Well,
I think that's my meditative zone.
so cool.
That's the zone that keeps me going. That's the zone where I am able to be myself with no, as I said, I don't compete with anybody who's running at what pace. So it's my own space, non judgmental, non, I'm bound, I'm just free that time, but it came with so many perks that I've just been hooked onto it. I'm a gym rat now, so I love strength training. It's given me, because I got into a community in 2015, 16, and those that community is more like a family to me. We have so much of fun. We travel together. We
So,
party together. So it is like a different life that I kind of saw, and a different personality shaped and emerged out of it. But let me tell you, it's just not one part of it, and I separate it.
mhm.
The there were challenges, and my work life, for anybody, corporate life is not easy.
Not at all.
Navigating through various levels has never been easy, and it comes with a lot of navigation, lot of setbacks. So in life, when I was thrown into a situation where I didn't know what to do, either to quit, give up, or I think I took a lot of solace in my running, but I was also drawn to spirituality. And I got, this is 2016 and 17, and when I got drawn into spirituality, I think it opened up a very different world for me. I
Right.
knew self love, but that area of self love was very different from how I knew self love.
Mm.
And I was so drawn into this reading of, life after death, what is really karma, and all of this today shapes me as a professional. And every challenge that I'm faced with is actually not a challenge for me anymore. It just becomes like a very simple situation and an opportunity for me to do look at things differently. Not that I don't get, you know I'm unfrizzled from everything. It's not like that. I'm a human being. But the way I handled things in complexity, and a lot I have learned from my husband actually. His approach in life is very simple. Everything has to be approached in a problem solving way. So there is no reflection on problem anyway in my house. The
I'm sure
problem
he's
is,
an entrepreneur. He has
no,
an
he's not.
entrepreneur.
He's a corporate. He's a hardcore corporate. He's with a bank, but his approach is so simple that everything is very and that's what I have learned. Whether it's from spirituality, whether it's from running, because and I was seeing a Instagram reel that during interview you should ask, "Are you a marathon runner?" Because
Oh,
what
really?
keeps you going until 42 kilometers or 21 kilometers is a different mindset altogether.
What a beautiful thing to say.
So it
What
is a
beautiful.
lot of resilience in life. It's a lot of discipline, commitment, but it has worked very beautifully for me.
Shweta, it's so interesting that, while we are talking, there is so much that is unfolding. And, when we look at the leadership positions in corporate world, we feel, oh my goodness, I don't know how she must have reached there. It must be, she must be really lucky first. Of course, that's the first thing comes. And then it must have made her arrogant. How women in their own biases feel, okay, she's unapproachable. I don't think she's a
Yeah.
big woman. She can't be. So, do you face situations like this as well for your own position?
So, yes, yes. But I'm often told this also, that you simplify life for us a lot. So, whenever I run sessions, and somehow I feel that that's also my calling. I love running sessions
Mm.
for, and I just feel, as I said, that I believe in spirituality. I often feel that you don't meet people just like that.
Yeah.
You meet people by design, by the design of the universe you and I are talking today. And if I have the opportunity to be sitting across you, Archita, or anybody else, it's by design that people are listening to me, or I'm able to talk. And if I have this opportunity, the only thing that is in my control is to be able to talk something that can add value, that can be in a positive way. I cannot have this opportunity and be any way in a negative way. So if I have that chance, I will only use it to add value to somebody's life. And that I cannot lose that opportunity. And it's just a part of me now, that it's it's I don't think it that ways anyways. Now that you asked me, it's come to me. But otherwise I don't think it in this way. It's just natural that I have this opportunity, let me make the most of it. If I can help anybody, why not?
I think it's very rare, Shweta, that you experienced this and you allowed life to unfold in so many ways for yourself while you were leading positions. I have actually started to understand life much better when I came out of the corporate life. And then I designed, the second act, or I helped people to design their second acts. So the thing is, this unfolding took me a lot of breaking down myself because with titles, designations, the luxuries, the pampering, it just becomes like a norm. You start feeling this is, where I must be at this position. And then entrepreneurship really breaks you completely. And I feel that is another life that one has to lead. Do you ever feel that you want to be an entrepreneur? Is there an entrepreneurial streak in you? And if that is, then what is it that something you would probably do?
You've touched a chord that has been itching in my for 1 year now. And I have
That
had this conversation with my husband, with my friends.
Okay.
that um that I've had enough experience in the corporate world, but what I aspire now is to get into an entrepreneurship model or be an entrepreneur. That's certainly, and I'm very, very sure it will happen soon. Um, and I'm crossing my fingers that it happens sooner than later.
Yes.
So I will be on your side. I hopefully, maybe very soon or who knows when. But whichever space I go to as an entrepreneur, this experience of mine, of this ability to make a difference, or this chance, I won't say ability, but a chance to make a difference is not what I will lose.
Yeah.
So a part of me would always want to be associated with somebody in some way or somewhere to be able to create this difference in the journeys of women, particularly uh, of how organizations, culture can shape up, or also, how do you shape your personality? And you know, I often like I've been leading inclusion agenda, right?
Yes.
And there was times and not far back uh, that I was often questioned by leaders and a lot of women leaders as well, to say that when I often say that women do find it difficult to return to from maternity, or you know mentoring is something that's very important to them, and they would often ask that, do you think that the women of these times really need mentoring? Do you think that what you say is really true? We don't think so, that we need a mentoring program. We don't think so that. And I get so surprised at how people are far from the reality that the life and journeys of how we have had person sitting next to me could be so different, and you don't even know what's happening in their life. So at least the life that we have had, if we are able to create a difference, I would not miss a chance to do it. So there is some way, certainly, but who knows what else.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I think the women are really quiet who are watching us today. Maybe they don't know how to articulate a question to you well, but for the sake of people who have joined in, I really would like you to share some things of value to people who are hearing us today from your life, from also this bug of entrepreneurship, of this whole thing about, like, that women, of course, need to find their voice, but they're still struggling somewhere. So I would really want you to share some things from your life that can mean something to them today.
What can I share from my life? So I'll share a few things that have worked for me.
Yes,
Uh, I I've been a very confident person, and that's as a personality. I've been a confident person, but I've never been an arrogant person. I, but I've also not shied away from expressing my views,
that's very
right or wrong. But I think it is an art which I have learned after burning myself and fingers and hands and everything. How do you articulate your point of view in a way which is respectful, humble, yet assertive? And I think women, because we are high in emotional intelligence, we are high in emotions and emotionally intelligent people, we get so bound or wound in our emotions that we let our emotions overpower our expression at a lot of time. And leadership conversation and strategic conversations should be practiced and thought through in a way that they don't come across as emotional, or don't show us as a weaker, that we are coming from a position of weakness, but we are coming from a position of power, is how they should. So I often find, and why I'm saying this, but women are aspiring for leadership roles, I find that how they articulate their own business case of how they can add value
sure. Very
doesn't
important.
come across at all.
Yeah. Um,
And We often say, I've done so much of work, but let my work speak for itself. I will not go and say that, I have done this. Can't they see that I've been doing this? No,
Mhm.
they're not.
Yeah.
And even if they are, this is your own work. Why can't we package ourselves in a way that it shows the people at the right place that how and what kind of difference you've been able to do it. But you need to be confident and have the conviction to be able to articulate that. That is number one. The second thing I often feel is that there are priorities in life for each one of us, right? Like in the morning, my priority is my workout.
Mm. Right.
And and I do step out for a run, and sometimes it's a human body. I do feel like getting up late. Not every day I can get up at 4:35 and go out for a run. Sometimes I do get up late as well. And if I have to step out, and though in Gurgaon it's a rare that you can have the weather and the place to run in late because of traffic and everything. But if in on one of these days if I have to, I do tell my team that, you know, I'm going to take that window of 2 hours break to finish that in between. Allow me that space. But it doesn't mean that my work is suffered. I would finish it before, I would finish it later, but I would block my 2 hours or 1.5 hour of my calendar to do that. But because that's a priority for me. Like my son is a priority for me. I would drop everything and cater to him. And he's now like he'll too soon be 19 later this week. But there are times when his I needed to pay attention to him, and I've done that without any doubt, without any guilt, and having laid down without any thinking that this will impact my career in a certain way. I'm very clear that if for 4 years I did not travel until my son was 4, I did not attend any off sites, I was okay with it. And I did not have that feeling of missing out. Therefore, it's okay to have priorities. It is okay to step back in careers. Our careers are so long. Those 2 or 3 or 6 years, if you have two kids, or 7 years, hardly matters. Don't let all those 7 years, you know, spoil or tarnish your long careers by, in that competition. Enjoy every phase as they are. And one last thing that I would say is that physical fitness is only one thing. We don't pay attention to ourselves. Start putting yourself first in everything. Be selfish for yourself. And I think women just need to do it. If you are not healthy, you cannot keep your family healthy. You cannot keep your mental state happy. And when I say fitness, fitness is everything: spiritual, emotional,
Psychology
physical,
and financial.
psychological. Yeah. And I think that your dopamine will affect you everything. If so, go and hit the gym, go and do whatever makes you and strength training. Not doing strength training but for women is a myth. We all need muscles much more later in life. They are much needed. So don't
Under,
don't
don't get
undermine the importance, and
yeah,
don't ignore your health. that's
absolutely.
that's some of the messages that I can certain. Of course, there are many more, but I think these are three things that I would certainly think that, and all this boils down to one: you are in charge of your own life and career.
Yes, I
Don't let
hope that
anybody else.
everybody, yes, whoever has logged in today, please, this is very crucial. And thanks, Shweta. This is incredible stuff that you've shared from your life, from your position, from your leadership style, etc. So I want to give you like a quick fireside questions, and you can give me very short answers for it just to make it more fun. So one word that best describes your leadership style.
Authentic, honest.
A book or a podcast that recently inspired you?
Recently, I often listen to Sister Shivani's podcast, and every day is a learning.
Wow, great. Your go-to mantra on tough days?
This too shall pass.
One change you love to see in corporate India in the next few years?
more women in leadership, but that's a very cliched one. I do think that humility is something that I would certainly like to see.
All right.
Humility in
And if there
leadership.
is one thing that you would like to do from your bucket list, what would
Do
that
entrepreneurship.
be? All right. So here it
Entrepreneur.
is. Thanks, Shweta. It was so interesting to know about you. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really feel that we have so much to take away from. And you're in Gurgaon, I'm in Gurgaon. I'm going to catch you very soon on
Oh,
this.
excellent. We should certainly do that. But I enjoyed the conversation. And I, as I said, that I do hope that I was, the people who have invested their time found it valuable use of their time being here. But thank you for all those who have logged in.
So thanks, really, Shweta. It was so much, but in so little time. This is just the beginning to understand you and all that you are trying to do. And I loved it that you said just be selfish about your own self. And I think that's what women really miss. And I'm working very hard to make that possible for myself and others. And lots to learn from your running club as well. Maybe one day I will pick on marathon as well.
All the
It's
best.
on my bucket list.
Oh, excellent. I'm happy to be a coach there. Give me
Oh,
a plan.
thank you. Thank you.